through a lot of determination and figuring it out and creating a methodology, today I stand here, nearly tripled my income in a year and a half. I have put on 15 pounds of muscle, so I look like a normal human being again. And then
that's important.
Yes, it's nice to like fit in my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And basically have found success in my job, created this podcast. And then I found love again with this amazing girl who just lets me be me. And just really, you know, kind of pushes me to stay in line with this stuff that I found along the way. So I found my passion, my why on this earth, my purpose on this earth is to help people to find their thing as well. And to show them that just as you are the makeup of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, you are the makeup of the 5 things that you do spend the most time doing.
I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether a solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless.
Today's special guest graduated with a bachelor's in religious studies from Olivet Nazarene University and got a master's in theology and counseling from Liberty University. More recently, he was named Connecticut Account Manager of the Year in 2019 and is now one of the top salesmen at his company. He uses his experiences, research, and expertise in his field to teach others how to manage their money, get in shape, and find what it is that moves them. You can listen to his show, the Wanting Less podcast, and also check out his YouTube page and his blog at wantingless.org. Please welcome Teddy Woolsey. Woolsey. Is that how you say it?
Woolsey, you got it the second time around.
There's
something about the phonetics of the last name that people want to put the S before the L. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It happened my whole life, so I'm good.
Yeah. Man, that's funny. I was like, it's so tempting. Like subconsciously you want to do that, but I don't know. People mess up my name all the time too. They say Audrey. They totally skip the N that's there, and I'm just like, I get it.
Yeah, it's one of those things our brains do. The path of least resistance, right? We want to be familiar with it.
Yeah, so I just be like, hey, y'all can call me Dre. Y'all can call me, I don't know. Y'all can call me anything, but just don't call me Audrey. And please.
That's fair. That's a fair rule, I think, to follow by.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're here, and I see you got your Cubs World Series shirt on. So I take it you're a big Cubs fan.
I'm from Chicago originally, or I should say a suburb of Chicago called Joliet, Illinois, if anybody's familiar. Awesome. It's about 160,000 people or so. So
yeah.
Pretty big suburb, but yeah, like Cubs, Packers, Bulls, the 90s were good to me as a young boy in Chicago, that's for sure.
Wow. I'm surprised you're not a Bears fan, to be honest.
Well, they really sucked in the 90s, and Brett Favre was the leader of the pack, quite literally. And my cousin was somebody I really looked up to him back then, and he kind of showed me the ropes with Brett Favre. And you have to remember, like, the Packers won. It was in 96, 97 season. Then we went to Super Bowl again and lost to John Elway in 98. But, I mean, it was a dominant team. Reggie White, Favre, Dorsey Levens. You had a really good squad at the time. But there's a whole other story behind the Brett Favre story, man. He's an absolute jerk, by the way. But
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Meeting your idols. I hear that's something you shouldn't do.
Yeah, that's why I try to stay away from just making idols in general. But at the same time, I'm sure I'd fangirl out if I saw him in person.
Yeah. But I totally get that. But all right, you ready to speak your life?
Let's go, man. I'm ready.
All right, cool, man. So to get it all started, we always introduce people by kind of getting them to tell that story, their life story of, when they were born. If you don't feel comfortable giving the year, you can give the era, like what cartoons were around during that time, what was going on during that time. I know some people are really iffy about that. So we can go
Okay.
from the journey of when you were born to why you were born. Mark Twain always talks about that those are the two most important things that a person needs to know: when they were born and why they were born. So let's hear it.
It's a great setup. I love that. If I was born in 1988, right at the end, December 27th to be specific. Nobody steal my identity. So I was a Christmas baby right after Christmas, and I did not lose out on presents though. My parents were really good about that, or at least they pretended to be. No, but life was good, man. I was my parents raised me and my sister very well.
Yeah.
And Joliet, we were a very religious family. So what was crazy was, growing up, like we were one of the only people in our neighborhood and in our family really that were, really, I guess, followed our faith, if you will. Like we actually went to church. We read the Bible at home, like at the times that you didn't have to, right? Like we went outside of Easter and Christmas and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it was really ingrained into my childhood and my natural inquisitive nature, I guess. And I learned that a lot from my dad. Really athletic kid. Again, I had a lot of friends. I had a good life. I had a good life. We always had enough food on the table, even if there were tough times and we needed. Things were tight. They always made sure that we felt we were comfortable. And the house that we lived in, I think my parents bought it for $50,000. It was
Oh, wow.
they paid it off when I was an adult. So, it gives you an idea. It wasn't a great neighborhood. But I grew up with a lot of really cool friends and awesome friends that we kind of had the similar struggle together. And it was beautiful, man. It was a beautiful life. So I was really, really happy about that. So I guess fast forward through the 90s and, living that life of, Space Jam and, the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire home run race and, the dominant 90s Bulls and all that kind of stuff. And that was my childhood and Disney Channel lineup and all that.
Nice.
I grew up into a nice, awkward teenager, just like all of us do. And I actually got really into religion probably around the age of 15, 16. And I'll never forget my Zanga name was Truth Teller 16. Righteous, man. It was super corny, but yeah. Looking back on it though, that was I don't know if you remember Zanga. Do you remember that was before MySpace? Do you remember what that was called? At all?
My parents did not let me on any social media until I got to 8th grade, and that was when MySpace was popping. So I didn't know about anything else.
That's fair. How old are you? I'm 31, so
I'm 26. So yeah, okay, 94 baby.
Yeah, that's fair. Zanga was pretty much done by that point, so that's fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Zanga was basically, it was the first MySpace that I was aware of, and it was a lot of free form posts. You have these long posts and whatnot. And that was my first time I would actually do research on things and write things out and have a blog, if you will, of my thoughts. And so that was cool. I mean, I was kind of thinking about this for the first time, and now we're going through all of this, but that was my first taste of all of that. And I really used religion, I think, at that point, and my Christian faith to find meaning, to kind of teach other people, or to have something to latch onto. I always had that affinity for latching onto something and really just learning everything I could about that thing, whatever that was. So yeah, I was really into that. Everybody they called me the pastor on my high school football team. And, I'd pray, I'd lead the prayers before the team. That was my identity. That was a big part of what I was. And then I started dating, and I found girls, and, they weren't really as into it as I was. And, I kind of poured myself into that and them really, and basically kind of lost my way for a little bit. I lost myself a little bit. after a few years of a relationship, broke up with this girl. I ended up going to this Christian college, and I thought, you know what, like, this is my opportunity to reclaim my identity and where I'm going to go with life. And I went to a school called Olivet Nazarene University. Fun fact, it's in Bourbonnais, Illinois. And that school actually houses the Chicago Bears training camp every year. So
okay.
Interested in that.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a really nice, like, private school, very expensive. Definitely should have chosen another path. But again, kind of going back to like the girl situation, I met a girl when I was in college, and you know, we dated for a few years, got engaged, and eventually got married pretty young. And we got married and moved out here to Connecticut because the plan was for her to go to school and everything, and started fresh. We started fresh out here in Connecticut. So that brings us to 2014. And at the time, I had completed my undergrad in religious studies. The plan was to go on to the next stage, and I got a graduate degree in pastoral counseling and theology. So that was supposed to be a checkpoint on my way to a PhD and to become a professor and or pastor or both. I wasn't really sure. I just knew that was where I wanted to kind of like make my income by counseling and helping folks out and that sort of thing. But what ended up happening was I was very quickly disenchanted with the church and the structure that is being a part of the clergy and a paid member of the church. It's really weird. It's very hard to make any kind of money, make ends meet. And I had to make ends meet. So I just, something didn't feel right. So I didn't pursue it like I thought, like I wanted to. Got into business, bounced around a few companies, and that basically leads me to the end of 2017. This is probably the most pivotal part of my story. And I'll make this as quick as possible while kind of containing the essence of what it is. In 2017, again, I was married for 3-4 years at this point. And I was together for my ex for 6-7 years at this point. And basically, we had a discussion about, you know what, listen, we moved out here to Connecticut together, and we were very dependent on each other for time and, you know, what we did and that sort of thing. It's really important that we start to kind of branch out and, you know, get friends and that sort of thing we're spending more time with our friends as opposed to with each other. And I thought that was fair. So we did start doing that towards the end of 2017. But basically at that point, what I thought was a healthy distance, I think she kind of took a little bit more extreme, if you will. And she was basically gone all the time. And again, I don't want to paint her out to be a bad person, because she's not. I think she was just trying to figure out what she wanted and who she was. And we got married very, very young. So it's one of those things. But long story short, it was just, we were never together. And, you know, I felt very alone, and it was a very difficult time for me. So we went on for months, almost a year actually. Until the summer of 2018, I kind of realized that the writing was on the wall. There was a pretty good chance that things weren't going to work itself out. Though I was struggling, I wanted to make this work, and I wanted to make the best version of myself at this point. So at this point, basically the summer of 2018, I was, I'm 6 feet tall, so I was about 160 pounds. So I was really thin. Like I was like for my like muscle structure and everything, I was very, very thin, very like underweight, and depressed. I wasn't really eating very much. I had just started a new sales job, which I'm in right now. And sales is hard, man. Sales is really hard.
Oh yeah. I've been there, done that. No more. I'm one and done.
Yeah. It's not for everybody. And the average turnover is about 6 months. So I was really at that point where I was like, this is make or break, you know? And, again, I kind of had this come to Jesus moment where I was like, you know what, like my faith and my religion, you know, isn't really much part of my life anymore. This relationship that I banked on so much as part of my identity in my future really, isn't going to be, it is unlikely to be the solid foundation that I thought it was going to be. something I can count on anymore. Maybe it's time to reclaim me and who I am. And I did. And I it was very uncomfortable. It was very painful to do that, to really come to terms with the fact that I had let go a lot of my own desires and dreams and how I wanted to spend my time, and really honestly embrace the dark moments of boredom or terror or fear of just being alone again. That was really powerful. But once I did, and I taught myself to do that, a few things came out of that. One was I started getting back in the gym, really heavily, and kind of channeling that frustration and fear into kind of like something constructive. And I started, building strength and muscle and confidence in that way. The second part was a huge part of our relationship at the time, and really just my own relationship with money, was getting that on track. And I struggled with financial discipline for years. And basically, what I did was one day, after years of arguing with my ex about who controls the finances and that sort of thing, I said, I want to know what's our income, what's our bills, and I want to know all of it. And I took control of it, because I said, if we don't make it, I need to know what situation I'm in. And the biggest shock to me at that point was that we actually, when I crunched the numbers conservatively, we made well over $1,000 more than we owed to all of our, student loans, credit cards, car payments, everything we had, all of our bills, conservatively. And that's not a small number. Most people don't even have $1,000 in their checking, or excuse me, in their savings account in America. For me to realize that we had been squandering our money just by not paying attention to it, and just wanting to pretend like it was a different scenario than it was financially, that really, as Peter Griffin would say, that really grinded my gears. That really bothered me. And it was right then, like a light bulb went off, and I said, I've got to take control of my money. And I made two lists. One was if we stayed together, and one was if we separated. And I unfortunately, the numbers didn't add up for if we separated, and I was on my own. And I was in the red, basically. So what I started doing was driving Uber to work, and then driving Uber after work and on weekends, and working my full-time sales job. The marriage eventually fell apart. I made the decision to leave. And for months after that, I maintained that status quo of Uber, working my sales job, and trying to keep my head above water. So it took all of that Uber driving just to give me an extra $50 to $100 more at the end of the month to survive. So it would be at the point where I literally have half of a gas tank left. And I knew that a bill was about to come out the next day of my checking account. So I had to drive for an extra 2 or 3 hours after work, after 11 hours of working at my sales job, to just to know that I could immediately deposit from Uber into my checking account and pay for, that bill that next day. It was that tight for some time. So, really tough, really lonely, really, really difficult situation, but, through a lot of determination and figuring it out and creating a methodology, today I stand here, nearly tripled my income in a year and a half. I have put on 15 pounds of muscle, so I look like a normal human being again. And then
that's important.
Yes, it's nice to fit in my clothes. And basically have found success in my job, created this podcast. And then I found love again with this amazing, amazing girl who just lets me be me. And just really, kind of pushes me to stay in line with this stuff that I found along the way. So I found my passion, my why on this earth, my purpose on this earth is to help people to find their thing as well. And to show them that just as you are the makeup of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, you are the makeup of the 5 things that you do spend the most time doing. as well. So that is my story in a nutshell, and I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And when it comes to spending time, being aware of how you spend your time, as a steward of time, and with people, with things, with social media, whatever you may interact with, you have to always be mindful of what you're putting into your body, putting into your mind, because it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of you. And also it's going to determine life or death. And what I mean by that is sometimes things that we consume, even just socially or mentally or whatever like that, they bring like some kind of like life to us. Like they energize us, or they give us, that, I don't know, that jolt of energy. Or sometimes things kind of bring us down. And so we have to always be mindful of that. So I definitely agree with you on that, about the whole, not just being aware of the 5 people that you stay around with, but also the 5 things that you spend the most time with as well. So definitely couldn't agree more with that. And
the BBC reports a U.S. workers' online study said that nearly 70% agree public speaking skills are critical for success at work. Maybe you are a student looking to become a prime candidate for that internship, or might I say full-time position, or maybe you have already been in the job market for some time now and you just want to stand out amongst your coworkers looking to get that raise you feel like you've been passed up for too long now. Go to speakyourlife.com/private-lessons. That's speakyourlife.com/private-lessons. Again, that's speakyourlife.com/private-lessons to become a better communicator tomorrow by signing up today.
It's definitely apparent that, faith is big in your life, and as it is in mine. So that's something that we also share in common. And, just here, just speaking from my own perspective, like, faith was a big influence as to where I went to college, Harding University in Arkansas, Searcy, Arkansas. It's about 2.5 hours west of Memphis, Tennessee. So it's a small private Christian college out there in the middle of nowhere. And so Olivet Nazarene. I actually had a friend that went there, and
no kidding.
yeah. So I don't remember what class she graduated from, so don't ask me that. But
I'm like, I wonder who this person is. But I was there for like 1.5 years, so
okay,
accelerated program.
So maybe not. Y'all probably ran into each other, but anyways, but yeah, I have heard of that school. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's
on the map at least.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Liberty, actually, fun fact, I got accepted to their master's program for I went to do it was a master's in leadership, organizational leadership. And
nice. Okay.
and that was like, yeah, thanks. It was like I applied, got accepted, and that was at the point where I was like really getting into starting the podcast here. And I was like, man, I'm a flight attendant. I'm about to start a podcast, and I got accepted to a master's program. So, man, something's gonna have to go, and
it's
Liberty was it. So yeah, I was not ready to pay that $18,000, man. It was so tempting, man. 10 months and you'll graduate. That's tempting right there. A 1-year program, and you have a master. I'll be Master Dre.
Listen, man, it was the same thing. That's how they enticed me. It was a 1-year master's program, and I blazed through it. But it was $20,000 I took out to do that. Room and board, and took out the max loans, and it was really looking back on it, it's just like really devastating to how hard I've had to work to even cut my debt in half. I a year and a half ago, or even a year ago, I'd say I had upwards of almost $80,000, and I've cut that in half just in a year from buckling down and getting everything in order, and then I plan to have that off my hashtag debt free by 33 type of idea.
Hey, there we go.
So get
That's what's
that
up.
going. But I was lucky that rhymed. But I mean, so I think that's something like I really want people to understand about me. Is that's what I harp on is money management. I actually before that I wanted to clarify something, like as far as like my faith, that was a big part of my upbringing, and I think it actually makes it still plays out in so much of my life today, and how I think about social justice issues and how we care about people, and really just how you think of people, like almost everybody is redeemable and that sort of thing. But what's crazy is so when I stopped going to church, and when I really, like today, I don't even identify as Christian, which is, I hope that doesn't hurt to hear, but I don't anymore. I'm agnostic, and my girlfriend is Jewish, so there's the possibility of like converting to that. And I've got to the point where it's like I don't identify any particular way, and I'm okay with that, because I found that the essence of what Christianity is and was to me, I think how Christ lived out his life, it's more a part of me today than it ever was. I just don't really attribute it in such a way or hold to the doctrines like I did before. So I wanted to clarify that, but also to say that it's still a huge part of the way that my life, the way I drive my car, if you will, my metaphorical car of life. I think a lot of it was built by that. So I wanted to say that.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people in their lives, go through different, experiences, and they shape who they are. And whether it's having faith and losing it over time, or some people didn't have faith to begin with, and then over time, some experiences led them to having faith. Some people have faith, and it has led to the strengthening or their faith being bolstered depending on their experiences. So I don't think I don't think anybody's here to judge you, based off of what you chose to do as far as like leaving faith, because honestly, it's in this day and age, it's with everything that's going on, sometimes it can be understandable, and sometimes the first thing as Christians people want to do is, I don't know, they look down on you or something like that, or look down on people like you. And I dated a girl who went through a faith journey, who went through, she wasn't sure about what she wanted to do. And that's an honest thing. I can say that's an honest journey that you're living. And you're still trying to figure things out, and that's what life is all about. So that's why, I want to encourage you in that way. And I want you to, keep pursuing and keep going on that path of truth, and keep moving forward. And because I think a lot of times, people just, there's always reasons behind what people do. So I never want to judge anybody, or I really think it's one of those things where people shouldn't be judging people, based off of those kinds of decisions, because you can never know what led up to that. Because I've had friends that, they left faith because of the things that we're going through right now. For example, I have a friend that went to Harding with me, and I'm not going to say his name, but he's listening to this podcast. He knows who he is. And he kind of left faith in, excuse me, that's my phone. He left faith, and a lot of it had to do with the things that were going on, social justice, and how we as African Americans living here in America are not, it's like, we're praying, to God, and we're asking for protection, but our brothers and sisters are being killed left and right. And I can understand how people can feel distant, how people can feel tired, jaded after a while, when you've been praying and going to church, and you've been reading your Bible, and you've been even going to Bible classes at a Christian college, only to find out that even after that degree, you're still not good enough to some people. Even after you make a certain income, you're still not good enough to people. Even it doesn't matter how famous you can become or how much status you obtain. you're still black to some people, and they see that as inferior, and that's unfortunate. And because of that, you know, that was one of many reasons, but he left faith, and you know, he's on a journey of his own. So again, I don't think that anybody should judge you for that, or anybody who is going through that, because it's understandable. Because everybody has their own reasons why they make their decisions. So yeah, I just wanted to encourage you to, you know, continue to find truth.
Appreciate that. Yeah. And I hope, I mean, I'd love to even connect with your friend about that and that sort of thing. I think what's been interesting about all of this, and I don't know where we want this episode to go. I'm happy to go in any direction that makes sense, but
it's turning into a good thing, whatever this thing goes to.
Yeah, no, listen, man. I mean, as far as like, my big thing is like, we are like incredibly deep people at its core. And that's, you know, as far as like this whole movement and everything that's going on, like with the racial injustice and the absolute clear racism systemically and directly today that is going on. What's happening is we're drawing battle lines amongst ourselves in our particular tribe based on like our own personal like perception of threat. And it's really dangerous because we're being told how to feel without even knowing that we're being told how to feel. And I wrote an article that I just published yesterday called, you know, I blog and I write a little bit as well, but it was called the Path to Resolution. And it's I basically draw a comparison between how, you know, when I was with my girlfriend the other day, it was a few weeks back, and she had been on this workout program, and, you know, hadn't lost like, you know, the weight that she wanted or whatever it was. And she was feeling really discouraged. And I you know, did the really smart thing. And I basically told her everything she was doing wrong and what she needs to do to fix that. So of course that was of course that was going to fix it. And so the conversation went as naturally as you think it would go. And we started arguing and we started arguing about like the fact that I was being insensitive as opposed to the actual thing that she wanted to talk about, which was just to be acknowledged and heard, and just said like, hey, I don't need you to solve this problem per se. I'd like you to be there with me, but I just need you to at least start by saying like, you know, I understand what you're going through, and that must be tough. And I acknowledge the pain that you're experiencing. So I kind of drew the comparison between like that romantic love and the situations we have with kind of what we're going on today. And I in many ways that's an oversimplification, but I think it's important in writing to make it simple for people to conceptualize and understand these complex issues in a way that they can digest, and at least start there. So the premise, the premise that the way I live my life is to simplify things down to the most basic terms, even if the nuances are important in any given conversation, and those should be brought up. But as far as a movement is concerned, as far as a direction in your life is concerned, you need to keep it simple, because if you don't keep it simple, you're going to deviate from that plan, because guess what? You haven't defined it, right? So people criticize the Black Lives Matter movement because it's like, they're like, oh, it lacks leadership, it lacks direction, or whatever it may be. And I'm like, yes and no. But I think what it does masterfully from the beginning, we have to remember it started in, I think, 2013 and 2014. We have to remember is what it does masterfully is it actually created this very, very simple idea in the name, in that Black lives have not mattered to this country like other races have. And we're still getting it wrong today, and people are still saying all lives matter, and they're still not looking into it and that sort of thing. But they're brilliant in getting it to be like, let's break it down to the most basic terms. Yeah. And let's expose that and stay on topic. You know what's crazy about all that? And I'm sorry, I'm going off on this tangent because I'm very passionate
that's
about
okay.
this subject.
This is good. Relevant topics nowadays.
Yeah. I'm just very passionate, and, you know, whatever. You can see how the media tries to divide or tries to convolute the message of what Black Lives Matter is. And I'm not saying they're completely innocent and everything. And you can make certain arguments, but I'd say as a whole, the idea is like, oh, they're a Marxist group. They are
leftist,
deliberately divisive. They're overly left anarchist. These rioters and looters are Black Lives Matter. Why don't they pay attention to the crime that's going on in Black neighborhoods? Blah, 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 blah. When all it is they are simply pointing out the fact, what is the root cause, people?
Mm-hmm.
What is the root? How did we get here? And can we
Systematic
talk about
racism.
that? I mean, listen, man, I can go on for days about this subject. I've only recently thoroughly educated myself on the subject, and I'm still light years away from all that I could know. But man, if people just knew the bare bones of what the history of all this is, there would be no question in our minds that that America has uniquely and systematically oppressed people of color, and that has affected that people of color, Black people in particular, uniquely in comparison to other races. So that's my soapbox, and But sorry, if I may just parlay that into my other point.
Mm.
The reason I thrive on simplicity, and I think this is a important thing to remember, is when you're trying to change something in your life or in somebody else's life for that matter, it's so easy to just want to run 100 miles an hour and just go chase the first thing that seems appealing. That's why we rebound into relationships way too quickly. That's why we, hey, I've done it many times. I'm a serial monogamous. That's my problem. But like, that's why we, think that the next diet or the next job or the next relationship or friendship or whatever is going to be the next thing to pull us out, when all it is us digging deeply for maybe the first time in our entire lives into who we actually are and what we actually want, and making decisions based on that. So that's my philosophy of the Wanting Less podcast and this whole movement that I'm trying to create, and what I coach people on is choose no more than 5 things that you want to get after and that will occupy your time. And the rest of those things that you think you want or seem cool, but you don't actually care about as much, disregard them and put just as much energy into ignoring those things, because those are going to be your distractions, and those are going to hold you back from the 5 things that matter the most. That's my basic philosophy now.
Yeah, that's great. And so tell us, how do you feel like some of the principles that you've learned, like what are some lessons that you learned from just adversity, from your sales job and different experiences like you've gone through, and turn that into a positive influence for others, and some specific ways?
Yeah. Oh man. Sure. I mean, besides from the actual kind of come to Jesus moment with my setting up my budget for the first time and actually looking at those numbers for what they actually were, I'm telling you guys, if there are 1 to 2 things that I could recommend anybody doing, if they are looking to reset their life, refresh their life in whatever capacity, it is get control of your money and get control of your body. What I mean by that is set a budget, get a financial advisor or somebody who actually can coach you through this, and take it seriously, maybe for the first time. Excuse me, because when you have control over your finances, there are so many things in life that compares to, that it's inexplicable in that way. I think it's so important to do. But also, when you get control of the way your body feels, that it has so much positive consequences for your mind, and that sort of thing. But to answer your question, specific examples, or
even one specific example to make it simple, since we're talking about simplicity.
Yeah, sure. I'd say I'd say when you're getting that feeling you're not tapping into that next level of your capabilities, whether that's your body, your money, your mind, your relationship, whatever it may be, bet on yourself a little bit and try something new. I was looking back on it, I was really blessed to have gone through such a lonely depressing time,
Mm-hmm.
where I was forced to look at my life for what I had built. And I think we
Yeah.
all we reach that line at some point in life, whether it's with a job, whether it's with a relationship, many times a relationship, or whatever, where you see the end coming and you recognize, man, I'm going to have to start fresh in this capacity, and I'm terrified. I've been in this relationship for 8 years. I kind of just let myself go and let it be whatever it is because I thought I was accepted and that sort of thing. And now I got to go back out on the dating scene and I got to do whatever it is. So in those moments where you recognize that your life's about to be turned upside down, be present in that moment as much as possible and recognize that this is an opportunity for you to use this fuel for good. I know it sounds so corny and so cheesy, but I'm telling you, man, if I didn't have that absolute terrible bullshit that I went through in my life, that I wanted to get out of every day, every moment of every day, and hoped it would just get better and I'd go back to normal. If I didn't have that, I would not be where I am today. I would have never woken up from the sleep that I was in. And I don't want to mistake people into thinking that, I'm an extraordinary person. I'm not at all. The only thing that I would say that I have that maybe others don't is like, I had a dad who talk about a crazy story, but like he showed me no matter if you don't get it, keep pushing forward and keep trying. And it took me forever to get through that because I really coasted in life. I really, really did. And tap into that thing that you want. And if you don't know what you want, I have an exercise for that. I have a way of identifying that, or I can coach you through that. And it might just be one conversation. So you can hit me up and we can have that conversation, whatever it may be. Because I think that's a big part of the problem is we want to change, but we don't really know where to start. But my biggest thing is tap into that moment when oh shit, like I have to start over and I don't have a choice at this point.
Yeah.
That's your springboard right there.
Yeah.
Hope that answers your question.
Good. And a lot of times we need a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but we just need adversity to get our engine started, to get everything going. Because, when everything's going great, everything's going good, the sun is shining, flowers are blooming, we're not motivated to do anything. We're not motivated to really become better than what we are because we're like, well, it's like if everything's good in my life and everything is fine and I don't have any adversity, anything that's pushing me, then I'm just gonna accept this as my best, this moment here right now. Well, the thing is, what I don't know is that even though maybe I have accomplished some things here and now, maybe I have done some great things in the past, but that's the thing, that's the past. And the best part of you is yet to come. And because the best part of you is yet to come, you have people who live in the past, whether, oh yeah, back in my glory days in high school football, you have people who glorify their old days. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like you're telling us these old stories. No, like I didn't even go to high school with you. Why are you telling me this? So then you got, people who glorify their college days. Those were my best times. We went to parties and we busted the kegs and talk about the fraternity or the sorority. And it's sad. I listen to people who just glorify the old times and saying that was the best time in their life. I really feel bad for them because the thing is, like, what's going on right now and what's in the future, like I said, the best is yet to come. So enjoy what you have right now, but also realize that there's keep pushing forward. Like you said, keep moving. Like there's other things that are coming that you haven't even experienced yet that are better and more fulfilling. And some of it almost seems paradoxical. Like when you're younger, you think that sometimes having more friends is better, But as you get older, you realize that, having a tight knit circle, having 25, they say this, like some quote out there is like, having 4 quarters is better than 100 pennies. It's a little corny quote, but I was like, I like that, because I mean, it just gives you that visualization about how, like, you still have keeping it 100. You just got to keep it 100, but like, it's higher value in that tight knit circle, as opposed to like 100 different people that you thought you had to keep up with, or always try to impress all the time. Going through school, like it's like I said, you think these things that you first thought, what you thought as a high schooler or middle schooler, you thought that was great, and then you become 20s, 30s, and you realize that, okay, those things that I thought were lame, those things that I thought were not cool back in those days, are actually what is actually giving me the most benefit, is giving me the most value and the most fulfillment in my life now. Back in, it was like, oh yeah, it's just like I do all these things, and I don't want to, I don't know, get serious about anything, because I can dabble into this and that, and I can get in the art club and the basketball club, and not take anything seriously, but commit yourself to something. So, but as you get older, you realize that committing yourself to something or a few things is better than trying to be the, jack of all trades, where, and no disrespect to anybody who is, a jack of all trades. It's just that you realize that there is fulfillment in having depth in so many, and having depth in a few things, rather than having breadth in a whole bunch of things. So.
Yes, exactly. That's the entire premise behind my show. And I wanted it to be simple, because if I could preach one simple message over and over again, maybe some people will get it, because it took me 30 years to get it. It took me 30 years. And I don't, even my closest friends, I talk about this philosophy and what this is. It's like, oh, that's a really cool thing. That's a really cool idea, but they're not implementing it to their lives yet. And that's okay. I'm not blaming them for doing that. Just like anything with marketing, is because I'm marketing this idea. I'm marketing a philosophy that you can change your life this way. And it's something I wanted to touch on with when you were talking about, the best is yet to come. And then you also have the people that think about, like, the glory days and that sort of thing. Something I say I'm going to take a step back. When I was, for most of my life, I've been an optimist, right? Mm-hmm. I have since evolved into an optimistic realist, in that I still think the best in people. I think people are redeemable and capable of many, many beautiful things, just as people are capable of really terrible things. Mm-hmm. But one of my favorite super pessimistic things that I say, and I believe wholeheartedly, is nobody's coming to save you. So it's up to you to make the change. Mm-hmm. It's a cold, dark, nasty world out there. It's scary. It's really, really scary, and nobody's coming to save you. So, there are always going to be those people in the world, and it's okay. Like, there's going to be worker bees, and there's going to be people that are, they're not going to be CEOs. I'm not going to be CEO. That's a big part of my message. I don't want to teach people to be the next CEO. That's extremely overwhelming. That's for the top of the top. And I'm not trying to teach people to do it. I'm trying to people to be their own CEO, to be their own king, queen, whatever it is in your own life, and find joy and pride in whatever the hell it is that you want to do. Yeah. And it's going to be, the beauty of that is the process of finding that is like, it's like a rebirth of just being like, I actually do care about this. And I have my list somewhere around here in my apartment, but I basically wrote it out. Like, I wrote down like all the things that I want to get done in the next 5 years. Like, what are these things? Like, and it took me like 45 minutes to an hour to do this, because I really had to think, like, what do I actually care about? What do I actually want? Yeah. A lot of us don't really do that, like, intentionally. And then part of the exercise is you circle the top 5 things that you want to get after, and then you separate the other list. And it's really, there was like this kind of spiritual moment when you do that and think, like, I really do care about this kind of stuff. Or like, I have literally chosen through deliberation and thought and processing that these things matter most to me. And to do that, honestly, I think is is so rare in our own lives on such a specific scale.
Yeah.
For actually, so for you came up with this idea, this show, and what you wanted to do here. I would venture to think that you have many other things that you want to get to in life and where you want to go. But it can probably feel overwhelming at times, because it's like, I have this energy and this desire to be at this future state or this different state at times where I want to be. Without a reference point, it can be very overwhelming for us, especially when we're starting over, right? Especially when we're starting over, because we have that spark, we have that emotion, that trigger. It's like, oh, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to run, I'm ready to do something. And we find like a thing, right? And it's like, after a week, this is really hard. Like if you're getting back in the gym, I'm sore, I haven't lost 50 pounds in a week. This sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just kind of go back to comfort for like a week or something, just kind of try something new. That's not discipline. That's not tapping into what matters most to you. Maybe you had to lose the weight to be healthy. Maybe that's
or you're trying to gain weight like me.
I can show you a thing or two about that. I actually have a little expertise on that. But we just don't carry our lives with intentionality, and what ends up happening is we end up living the lives of the people that we allow to run our lives for us. So it's our parents, our spouses, our kids, or whatever it may be, because our natural inclination is to have other people do things for us. So if you don't put your foot down and set up boundaries for other people and for yourself, you are going to fall. You are going to stay where you are, and you're going to be looking back at the glory days and thinking, what the hell happened in my life? That's how it works. That's the cycle.
Yeah, I definitely
So I wanted to break it.
Yeah, and you're doing it. You're doing it. So keep pushing forward, man. Keep pushing forward. And speaking of the glory days, what would you say to your 20-year-old self as we begin to wrap things up here? What would you say to your 20-year-old self? What's one quick, moment of advice that you would share to your 20-year-old self? Because we have listeners that, this podcast is usually geared towards young professionals, and we want them to understand that pursuing your purpose is the most fulfilling thing you can do in your life, because you only have one life. And like I said before, knowing the day you were born and why you're born are the two most important things. And so what is that thing that you would offer to that 20-year-old self of yours?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a really good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is that whatever you do at 20 years old, do it on purpose. And the second part is that you have the rest of your life to be with somebody, be for somebody, and you have the rest of your life to spend your money and live a good life, and live a good life, or whatever it may be. That's not to say not to have fun in your 20s, but if you can get the foundations of what it means to live a good life, and what I mean by that is basically, again, managing your money and understanding where your money's going and how to build it, compound interest, the basics of financial literacy, as well as building pride and emotional intelligence within your own self-worth. Man, you'll conquer the world.
Good. That's good advice.
The rest of it comes along, man. It happens to you. It attracts to you. You're not supposed to know what you want to do for the rest of your life when you're 20. I still don't know exactly what I want to do. I'm 31 years old. My dad still doesn't. He's 63 years old. He doesn't know what he wants to do with the rest of his life. Yeah, he's coming up on retirement. There's always the next stage. There's always the next thing. The pillars of what it means to be a strong, proud, happy person. Wherever you take that person and that self, whatever you take it into as a job or a relationship or with a fatherhood or motherhood or whatever it may be, you are going to be a machine for good in your own life and in those people. And you're going to have extreme joy despite all of the terrors of life. You have extreme joy. That's my That's my super extra answer.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for that. And so the last question we have before we transition into the last segment is, what does your house stand on? In this podcast, we talk about how we look at life like a house, and you have the things, the exterior fixtures like windows, doors, roof, that represents your actions and the things that you've done that people can see from the outside. But what does your house stand on? And what are some foundational pieces, or what's one thing if values are your foundation, the part that maybe everybody can't see, like your accomplishments, what would be one of those foundational pieces of your house?
Pride. Without a doubt. Not
more.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Oh no, I was saying tell us more.
Oh, tell us more. My apologies, I misheard you.
Pride, like what do you like? Do you get more of what
Not
you mean?
The opposite of humility, in the sense that I think humility you can have pride and humility, and they don't contradict one another. Pride in the sense that I believe that whatever I bring to the table, I'm doing it on purpose. And I'm giving you I'm being intentionally simple here and redundant in my answers, because that's what I'm about, right? Like, I built my money, or my house, on like money management and like fitness and emotional intelligence and those sorts of things. Those are a given, and I think those are common themes throughout this episode. But man, even when I know I'm going into a room and people look at me and they think, man, this guy's an asshole, like he is a jerk, like, or he thinks a lot of himself and that sort of thing. It's not that I think that. It's not that I don't know my own insecurities and my own faults. I do know them better than anybody. And ask my girlfriend, she knows them much better as well. Because she's the one that hears about it, my best friend. But I learned in the depths of the problems that I experienced, that pride can push you to bet on yourself and to get the things that make you feel happy and joyful and fulfilled, unlike anything else. Mark Manson talks about emotion as a feedback mechanism that our bodies give us to tell us that something is wrong, right, or indifferent. Something is going on and we need to take action against it. When I'm feeling lousy or like I'm not worth it, I know that that means that I need to do something that gives myself pride. And that means that I now have something that I can overcome. You have to, without pride, without an obstacle, without a problem in your life, you can't experience pride. You can't overcome that. You have to feel that pain, that thing that's in front of you. And you have to plow through it somehow, get around it, work through it. You have to. So I think most of us go throughout our lives getting to that safety spot of like our evolutionary mindset where we're protected, we're safe, we're all set. But then you find people who are talking about the glory days and thinking my best days are behind me. And I'm telling you, man, that is not going to be me. And it's not going to be you either. I know that's not going to be you. Because you got that thing. You've got that thing where you are doing something. You are trying
that
something.
Juice.
Yeah, that's what it is. You got that juice, that thing, that whatever it is, where nobody's telling you to go above and beyond or try something or bet on yourself or pour time, effort, and money into a podcast or whatever it may be, that makes you happy, or to build something when you don't have to, because you're already protected. You're paying the bills. Everything's fine. You're doing enough.
Yeah.
There's
always more to do, but I'm not going to be too hard on myself.
You shouldn't be, because you're going above and beyond. And I don't even think there's necessarily anything wrong with people like getting a 9-to-5, doing enough, paying the bills, and whatever it may be. But there is a consequence to that, and there is a world of what ifs at the end of that road. And I don't want that world. I don't want that path for me. I want to know that I did everything in my power to spend every precious moment on this earth doing what I wanted to do with who I wanted to do it with. And I felt love, peace, joy, and fulfillment along the way.
Mm-hmm.
That simple.
Good. Awesome. Well, we are transitioning into the last segment of the podcast, which is question of the day. A very random question that we ask every day, every time we're on the podcast, that is. And today's question of the day is, what is the most interesting Corona mask design or pattern that you've seen? Since that is, something that nowadays it's very relevant, wearing a mask everywhere you go. What's been the coolest or the most interesting Corona mask? Bet you didn't think you were going to be asked that, did you?
No, definitely not. I want to say I saw somebody with an elephant trunk mask. That was pretty cool. And then,
how old were they, or how old did they look?
Yeah, they probably millennial, so I'd say late 20s, early 30s. That was what it was. I saw it on the street somewhere, and they had like a whole pajama outfit on and that sort of thing. So that was pretty cool. My aunt gave me a Green Bay Packers themed one, but that wasn't crazy. The elephant one, definitely for sure. I don't know.
Funny.
How about you?
Oh man, I've seen a lot of. I mean, my personal favorite has been like the kente cloth ones. I've seen people have like their fraternity symbols on there and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen any elephant trunks yet. I haven't seen any like pig snouts or anything like that. I haven't had anything super crazy. But I would say the one that I found to be very interesting was, I think it was a band called the Oakwood Brothers or something like that. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're like a country band. But anyways, I just felt like that's pretty cool that, somebody would even have the idea to put their favorite band as a picture on their Corona mask. Like, that's pretty cool. So people are really getting creative with this stuff now. It went from just being like a standard, healthcare procedure, to now it's become like a cultural phenomenon now. Like, people are like using this, and they're making Packers ones, they're making Cubs ones, they're making elephant trunks, and they're just taking it off. They're just
I think
really
if Halloween comes around, I'm definitely gonna beef up and have a Bane themed one from Dark Knight Rises. And
yeah. Yeah, I was like, when this first, like when they started telling everybody that masks are recommended before they became required in certain places. Yeah. I was going to Africa, South Africa, and on my flight to Cape Town, we were walking off. After we landed, we walked off. We're walking towards security and whatnot, and customs. I was just like being funny. I was like I had the little mask on, like, I'm Batman. He's like, I'm here to kill the Batman. I'm Bane. But like, I was just like messing around, and I looked so stupid. I didn't care. I like posted it on Instagram.
I'm trying to think of the famous line so we could try to do that from the movie where he's like, it's not, are you not entertained because that's Russell Crowe and Gladiator? I'm really blowing it right now, but I'm just going to do Russell Crowe and Gladiator in the voice of Bane. Are you not entertained? Like, and that's pretty much it. Like, that's.
It was oh my gosh.
Two fantastic Astros.
It was fun. But anyways,
that's dope, man.
That is all for today. And man, thank you so much for being with us on today's episode. And guys, be sure to subscribe to Teddy's podcast. That is the Wanting Less podcast. You can find and subscribe to his podcast, and also follow him on social media as well at Wanting Less Podcast. So again, we want to thank you for joining us today on this episode. Subscribe on this podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a review if you feel like you connected with any material on today's episode. If you have any questions, comments, or just want to hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, you can find us at SpeakYourLYFE, because life without your Y is meaningless. And last but not least, podcasts are free to listen to, but not free to do. So if you are part of again for tuning in. Love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode.